Hi everyone, so today's video is going to be how to crochet the granny square, and this is a beginner friendly video, and I'm mainly doing it because I've had a very special young lady stay with me this weekend who has wanted to learn to crochet. So this video is aimed for her and any beginners out there. So for the purpose of the video, I've been working with this yarn, and there are your details. Okay, and without further ado, let's get to it. So I'm started already with the slip knot. Here is the tail that I leave. I try and leave this a little bit longer just for the purposes of tying it in later on, and I'll show you what I do with that. So to begin, make sure that your slip knot is nice and loose. I'm using a 5mm hook and the Knit Pro interchangeable crochet hook. So I want you to start by chaining 4. So there's your first one. Keep your thumb there just to stop you pulling that any tighter. Until you get used to your tension, keep that thumb there on that knot to stop it going any tighter. And now we're going yarn over that one. So now we've got 2, 3 and 4. Okay, I want you to slip stitch over to that first loop that you made, and this is what it'll look like. Okay, now that starting tail there, which was from your first slip knot, I want you to try and keep that at the back for now, and then I want you to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. Okay, and the reason we do that is we're making a ring because we're going to be working into the middle. So now I want you to chain 1, 2 and 3, and that counts as your first double crochet. I work in American terminology. In UK terms, that is a treble crochet. So what I'm doing now, this tail here, I keep that at the back of my work there, and as I crochet round, I also go over that, and I'll show you why when we get to the end. So find that middle loop, right, which for me is here, and we're going to be working into the middle of that loop. I'm just going to try and find it. There it is. That's it for me. So I'm going to go yarn over into the loop. Okay, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep it nice and loose so that you can work it easily. You don't want it going too tight, and keeping that loop at the back there. Yarn over, go through those first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the second 2 loops. So now you've got 2 double crochets. Okay, so we're going to do one more, same again into that loop. So yarn over into the loop, well, we'll call it the ring, into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, again keep it nice and loose, you don't want your tension too tight, yarn over, go through those first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the second 2 loops, and that counts as your third double crochet. Okay, and it kind of works in clusters of 3. So now we've done the first 3, I want you to chain 3. So 1, again watch where my fingers are, right, 1, 2 and 3, and the way you can recognize those is by turning it around, and you see these little V's here. So you've got 1, 2 and 3 there. Okay, and that is how you recognize them. If you're unsure about anything by looking at it like that, then look at it like that, and you've got 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and then you've got 1, 2 and 3 again, which you've just chained. So we're going to now repeat what we've just done here, yarn over, but this is where it can get a little bit confusing, because this here kind of makes it a little bit more difficult, because if you chain too tight, it brings that's exactly what I'm talking about there. That chain, that starting chain that you've just done of 3, wraps around your hook if you go too tight. So keep your work loose, keep that tail at the back, and we're going to yarn over into the ring, use your hook, see that hook end there, pull it through, pull it up, keeping it nice and loose, you don't want it too tight, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, okay, and that is classed as your corner space, it's your chain space. And you've just done your first double crochet again, so we now want one more. So yarn over into the ring, pull your yarn through, give it a little wiggle to bring it up, yarn over through 2, and yarn over through 2, and we're going to repeat that again. Yarn over into the loop, into the ring, pull up your yarn, give it a little wiggle, through 2, yarn over through 2. Okay, so now you've got 2 sets, 1 corner. Okay, so if you visualize a square, that is your first corner. Okay, so what we're going to do now is chain another 3, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, get your ring, move your work round slightly now, so you've just worked here, you've chained 3, and turn your work round so that whenever you're working, you're up here and you're working down to keep that corner straight. Okay, so we've chained 3 and we're going to do another 3 double crochets into the same space. Yarn over into the ring, pull up a loop, and pay attention to where my fingers are here. I'm holding this behind there because I want to crochet over it. Okay, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's always the difficult one because that wraps, so just take your time and look at what you're doing. Right, so now we want another one. Yarn over, put your finger there, there's your ring, you want to go through that ring, pull up a loop, pull it through, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, and we're going to repeat that again. Yarn over into the ring, pull up a loop, pull it through, yarn over through 2, and yarn over through 2, and now you've got first corner chain space, second corner chain space, and we're just going over to the next. So you want to finish this with 4 clusters total to make a square. So we'll carry on. Don't worry too much if it's not looking exact, because obviously I've been crocheting a long time, so my tension will be very different to yours. When you're holding your yarn, I do it through there, then I pull it over the second one, and then I would go like this. So on the top it looks like that. Okay, and I just hold it with that one loop there, and this is where I keep my tension. Okay, there. So we've just completed our third cluster of 3, so I want to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to be working back into the ring. If you've not got quite enough space here, just give your work a little bit of a wiggle round and it should give you a little bit more room. So again, yarn over into your ring, pull up a loop, give it a wiggle to bring your stitch up a little bit, yarn over through those 2 loops, and yarn over and through the next 2 loops, and again yarn over into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, yarn over, pull through those 2. Now remember to keep your fingers here, you don't want your fingers up here. Now the young lady that I teach, she has also done knitting, so her instinct is to use her fingers around the hook. So try and control fingers here and here, not on your work. Okay, so we want another double crochet, yarn over into the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over and yarn over again. Right, so if you look at that now, you've got the bottom, side, side and the top, and we've got one corner, two corner, three corner, and to make a square we need that fourth. So to do that we chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and what we need to do now is slip stitch, and to do that we want the 3rd chain on that starting chain. So if you count the V's, you've got 1V, 2V and 3V. Okay, so I want you to crochet into that 3rd V, and what we do is we shove that through there. If it's tight, just work with it and give it a bit of a shove. Okay, so we've gone through that 3rd loop. Now I want you to yarn over, pull through, okay, and then I want you to pull that loop through this one, and to do that we'll do this. Just use your hook to guide it through. Okay, now when I'm working into a square, I never start my work in this corner. I tend to slip stitch over to begin in this one. I just find, for me personally, that's how I keep it neat. Now that's if you're working in continuous rounds, one after the other, with the front side and a clear back side. Now if you're doing a blanket and you're just doing continuous square round after round after round, you will be turning it. So to turn it, you would chain 1 here and then turn your work, and you would start working backwards into these. Okay, but for the purpose of this video I'm going to keep it on the front, because I want to show my Layla how to do it the way I do it, front facing. When I next meet her, I'll show her how to do the back side, but she's really good and she picks it up extremely quick. She's one of the best people I've met for starting crochet. She already knew how to do a lot of it because she's learned knitting through a grandma. So to slip stitch over, we've already slip stitched through 1, so I want you to slip stitch through the 2nd one, and then we're going to slip stitch here to the 3rd. So right, so we're here, we want to be slip stitching under that one. Be careful you don't miss it, because it does look slightly different because you've already gone through this side, so I want you to go through here. Okay, so I don't go in, I go under. Okay, bring your loop through, keep your tension on the looser side because you don't want your work curling up because you're slip stitching, and pull that through there. Okay, then we've got this one, so again we're going underneath those 2, so we've got the 2 V's there, 1 and 2, so you've got 2 loops. It looks like you've got 2 loops, but you're just going under 1 stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, watch where my fingers are, I'm holding it, and you pull that through there. Okay, and then you just go through to this, which is your chain space, and you slip stitch there. Okay, and this is what it looks like. So you've still got your perfect square with your 4 corners. So now we're going to work it again. So chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so that then counts as your first double crochet in American terminology, and it's a treble crochet if you're working in UK terminology. So I want you to yarn over, go back into that chain space, pull up a loop, and try and remember where you want to bring that work up. So you don't want it sort of whizzing around to this side, you want it to stay up here. Okay, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through those 2, and again yarn over, pull through a loop, pull it up, through 2 and through 2. Okay, so that counts as one part of your corner done. But again, because we're working in corners, I want you to just slightly turn your work now, because we're working along here, right? But I want you to chain 3 because we're in a corner. 1, 2 and 3, and that there creates that corner. But now you want to do another 3 double crochet in that same space. Yarn over, go into the loop, pull it up, yarn over through 2, yarn over through your next 2, okay? And again, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, and again, yarn over into that space, pull up a loop through those first 2, through the last 2. Okay, now that then gives us our first corner. So again, making sure that you keep that edge nice and neat. We're working over to here. Now some people like to chain one there to bring them over to that next one. I don't, because I don't like my work too holy and too stretchy. So I go through straight over to here, through the space, pull up a loop, okay, but pull it up and keep your tension a little bit loose because you don't want this being too tight and your work to curl. So yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, okay, and again, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop through 2 and through 2, and again, yarn over into that space, pull up a loop. Now look where I'm putting my finger there, and I'm putting it there because it stops me pulling it too tight or pulling it too tall, because you don't want that stitch to be taller than the others. So you just want it nice and even, bring it up so that it looks like it's going to match those, yarn over through 2, I've moved my finger to give a little bit more yarn, and through the last 2, okay? So that now is creating that edge nicely, okay? So now turn it round and chain 3. 1, 2 and 3, okay? And we're going to do another 3 double crochet into that space there. So I want you to aim for there. Don't move your work round in any other way, because I know Layla likes to pull her work this way. So I want you to bring it round so that you're working in that area there. So watch what I do. Yarn over into there, pull up a loop, yarn over through the last 2, okay? And now I want you to concentrate on the next 2 double crochets being in this space here, right there. So again, yarn over, pull up a loop through 2, through the next 2, and again, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and through the last 2, okay? So now you can see that you've done one edge, and now we're working this edge. And with any square, you've got 4 edges. So over to this, don't chain any, but keep in your tension so that you can move that hook through without any difficulty. So we're aiming now for here. So through the space, wiggle it so that it's a little bit taller, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2 more, and we want another 2. So yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, and yarn over through 2. So I especially want you to watch what my fingers are doing and where I'm moving them to, not just the stitches that I'm creating. So yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, and yarn over through 2, okay? So we've just worked like that. Now I want you to turn it slightly and work 3. So 1, 2 and 3. So the only time that you will chain 3 is when you're in a corner and you're working those 2 together. So we're in the corner, we've done 1 letter 3 there, we've chained 3, so we want another 3 double crochet in that space there. Yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, give it a wiggle so it's not too tight, yarn over through 2 and yarn over through 2. We want 2 more, so let's go again. Yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 and yarn over, pull through the next 2. And again, yarn over into that space, pull up a loop, through 2 and yarn over and through 2, and that is your 3rd corner. So you can see now that you've got 1 edge, 2 edge, and you're working your 3rd here now. So like I said, I don't chain in between, so I'm going straight over to this chain space. So yarn over and try and get it as close to there as you can. So pull up your loop, keep it slack so that your work doesn't curl. So if you do that too tight, what it will do is your work will try to wave there, and that's not what we want. We want to try and keep a nice straight edge. So straight over to that, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. Okay, and we're going to do that another 2 times. Into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2. Yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2 more. Okay, so that's the first part of your corner done. So now I want you to turn it and I want you to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Just pull a bit more yarn. Right, so now we want to work another 3, but in that space there. So aim for that area, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2. Now you see how I'm working my hook there to do the work for me, rather than all my wrists and my fingers. I'm using the hook, so I'm going through 2 and then a twist, work up that loop and I pull through 2 more. See, so I want 1 more in there, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2 more. Right, now to finish that round I want you to slip stitch over here. So again into that 3rd space you've got 1 V, 2 V's, and then you've got a 3rd there, and that's where we're going into. So push it through if you need to, pull up a loop, bring that through. Oh, sorry, I've dropped it. Go again. Pull up that loop, bring it through and slip stitch. That's your slip. So now we're going to do it in that one and that one as well. So we're going to go underneath those 2, so you've got those 2 V's, and pull that through there. Okay, and the same again here, you go in through underneath both of those V's, see there, pull that through and pull through there. Okay, 1 more which takes you into that space, and that's it there. So now you've got your lovely square with a nice 4 side, which are lovely and straight, which is exactly what we want. Now when I began, I told you about leaving that tail from your first slip knot, and the reason I do that, if you just switch it around to this side, you'll see here that I crocheted over it as we went round, and we've got this here which is left over. Now if I show you there, you've got that gap in the centre there. Now if you don't do anything with it, that gap will probably stretch as you start to wear it and over time. But if you get this there and pull that in, brings your work together, gets rid of the ring in the middle, and all you need to do then is pop a needle on the end of this and weave it in round and round until you've got none left. Pop a knot in it, and that prevents your work from undoing at a later date. Now if your work unravels from the inside out, it's near on impossible to fix it, so you really want to remember that step if you can. Don't worry too much when you're beginning, but it's definitely something you want to remember going forward. So we are now at our, how many rows have we done? 1 and 2, and that's how I count it from the middle. 1, 2. So we're going to go on to our third. Okay, so pop your hook back in there, and we want to chain 3. 1 and 2 and 3, and that counts as our first double crochet. And we want 3, so yarn over into that space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2 more. Okay, and again over into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 loops and through the last 2, and that again is our first side of our corner. So we've worked there. I want you to turn your work so that wherever you're working, you're always working into the top of. Don't want you pulling your work to the side. So chain 3, 1, 1, 2 and 3, and that then allows you to come around your corner, yarn over and into the space again, pull up a loop, through 2 and through those last 2. Okay, being careful you don't lose yourself when you're wrapping that round your hook, and that is your chain space for your next corner. So yarn over again into the loop, pull up the yarn, chain 2 and through the next 2, and again yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through the last 2 loops, and that is your corner for that side. I'm just pulling up some more yarn. You might end up seeing a cat at some point because she's managed to make her way into the room with me, so bear with me if you see a giant paw coming your way. So we're working differently now is that because we've worked a few rows, we've now got a centre space as well. So all we do with that is a set of 3 double crochets. You only work these in a corner, and it's the only space that you would do your chain 3 as well. So for now we've got 1 gap there, 1 chain space, so we're going into that space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 and yarn over and pull through the next 2. Okay, now we're going to do another 2, so yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2 and yarn over through the last 2. Okay, and once more, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, my fingers go back, then I'm holding that there, preventing me from making that any bigger, yarn over through the first 2 and yarn over through the second. So you've just got 1 cluster of 3 in that space. Now we're going back over to a corner, so yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, we want another 2 in there, so yarn over into the space, pull up 2, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, 1 more, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, keeping it as close to those as you can, yarn over, pull through 2 and yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, that's what it's looking like so far. So that's your top edge, that's your corner, and now we're in another corner, so I want you to turn your work around and chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and then because we're in a corner, we're going to do another set of 3 in that space there. Yarn over into the space, pull up a loop through the first 2 loops, through the second 2 loops, and again yarn over into the space, pull up a loop through the first 2, and then yarn over and through the second 2, and once more yarn over into the space, pull up a loop through 2, yarn over through 2, and that is our next corner done. Okay, so we've already got this nice straight edge appearing there. So again, we've got just a chain space there in the middle, so we're going to work straight into that with 3 double crochets. So yarn over into the space, pull up a loop through 2, and yarn over through 2. Again, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop through 2 loops, through the next 2 loops, and we need one more, so yarn over into that space, pull up a loop, give it a wiggle, make sure that you can move your hook around, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops and pull through those second 2 loops, and that is our middle space done. And we're going over to another corner. Now as your work grows and you do row after row, you'll end up with more of the chain spaces in between your corners, so you must always make sure that you're only chaining 3 and doing 2 lots just in those very corners, which there will always be 4 of. So just make sure that you keep track on that. If you're getting tired, put your work down and leave it for the day, then pick it back up tomorrow. Don't work it tired, because I will guarantee you that come the day after, you'll look and you'll end up having to unravel because you've put something wrong, or you've put 3 in instead of 2, or 2 in instead of 3. So if you get tired, golden rule, put your work down, leave it. Okay, so now we're in a corner, we're going back into that space, so yarn over through the space, pull up a loop, chain 2 and go through the next 2. Okay, yarn over through the space, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, yarn over through the next 2. Okay, and again once more, pick up a loop through those first 2 and then through those second 2. Okay, so that's one side of your corner done. So again, we're working over this top side, so now I want you to turn, okay, and chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and we're going to do another set of 3 double crochets into that space there. So yarn over into the space, yarn over, pull it through, make sure you've got plenty of looseness on them hooks, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. And say if it's too tight, it'll start to curl and you'll end up with a wavy on the edge. Yarn over into the space, bring up a loop. See there, you've got 3 loops on your hook, through 2, yarn over through 2 more. Now you want one more in that space, so yarn over into the space, pick up the loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2 more, and that's your 3rd corner complete. Okay, and we're back into that space there, so you just want 3 in there. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet and 3 double crochet. Okay, then it's just one set because it's just a space in between. Now we're back into a corner, so yarn over and into the space, pull up a loop, 1 and 2, okay, into the space, pick up a loop through the first 2, through the second 2, and again, yarn over into the space, pick up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over through 2, and yarn over through 2. Right, so we're in the corner, so I want you to turn slightly and chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Now because we're in a corner, we're going to be working another 3 into that same space. So yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, 3, 2 and 3, 2. And again, yarn over into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, and again into the space, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through the next 2, and that is that last corner done. And we've just got another space there that we need 3 double crochet in. So we've got through 2 and through 2, and again pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2, once more into the space, pull up a loop, through 2 and through 2. Now that was the last set of 3, so we want to slip stitch, and we do that by 1, 2 and 3. So we're going to be slip stitching into that stitch there. Pull up the yarn. To slip, we just slip it through that one, and then I want to go through that one. So go underneath so that you've got 2 strands across. There you go. So you're under that full V, and pull through that one, and then through this one. And that's what it looks like. And we want to go into this space, so let's pull that through there. Right, so that now is looking more like your square. Now, like I said, every row you do, you will get more spaces. So you've now got your corner, then you've got that 3 space, that 3 space, and then this one you will have your cluster of 3, chain 3 and 3. Then you've got a cluster of just 3 in that one, 3 in that one, then you've got 3, chain 3 and another 3 in that one. So it's basically 2 lots, 1 lot, 1 lot, 2, 1 lot, 1 lot, 2, 1, 1, 2, and so on. And every round you do, it will continue to get bigger and bigger until eventually it's the size you want, and you will have lots of these little spaces. Now if you're just doing it for a blanket and you're doing umpteen number of squares to create a blanket to the size you want, you'll have to decide on when you want to finish it. So we've done 3 rounds there, 1, 2, 3. So I would probably do, for just a normal granny square blanket, I'd probably do another round, and then I would tie it off here, and then I would find a colour to make sure you go round them final edges, and I'd do that on every single square that you do, so that you can match them up perfectly to join them, and then that will be it. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, pop them below. And to my darling Layla, I hope this helps. Good luck, and if you have any problems, just reach out.